With everything that we've built up about our constraints and what consumers are trying to maximize, we can go ahead and take a look at the big maximization problem using marginal utility analysis. It studies consumer decision making in the face of budget constraints and asserts that rational consumers will allocate their incomes to maximize their own well-being. Remember, we want to maximize our satisfaction or utility constrained by our income. And exactly by conducting this type of analysis, we're going to be able to find what the optimal consumption bundle is for this particular consumer. So in order for us to go ahead and work with this problem, we need to introduce one more concept, and this concept is going to be known as marginal utility per dollar. So here, one more concept, marginal utility per dollar. And this is the most important type of concept or most important sort of topic that we need to build into the tables that we've been taking a look at in order for us to make our decision. And the marginal utility per dollar is going to be just that. Marginal utility divided by the product's price. So here, product's price, or whatever the price of the good may be. And the marginal utility per dollar is going to tell us exactly how much bang for our buck do we get. For $1, how much additional utility, how much additional satisfaction do we get for purchasing this particular good. And this marginal utility per dollar, like we said, is what we want to build up in our table because it is exactly how we are going to make our decisions intuitively. So when we go ahead and build up the table using the marginal utility per dollar, we introduce column 4 and column number 8. Column 1 through 3, 5 through 7, they're the same exact things that we've already been taking a look at. Column 4, column 8 is just going ahead and using the marginal utility per dollar, taking the marginal utility that you get from each respective column. Column 3 for pizza, column 7 for wall climbing, and then dividing it by the price of the good. Remember that pizza costs $10, so 70 divided by 10 will give us a 7 right here. 60 divided by this 10 will give us a 6, and then so on down the line. Same thing with wall climbing, 90 divided by $10 will give us 9, 60 divided by 10 will give us 6, and then all the way down as well. With these two columns right here, we are going to be able to see what the maximum or optimum consumption bundle is going to be for this particular consumer. So what do you think that it's going to be just by taking a look at it? Should it be for consuming just all hours of wall climbing because we see the highest total utility right here? Should it be for all pizza? Should it be a combination of these two? We're going to work with this a little bit intuitively to step-by-step process to show you exactly what we should be doing. One thing to note about this analysis, however, before we start on this sort of step-by-step process, is that I will generally try to avoid examples that will give you hours instead of units, because if we tend to use hours or time units in these examples, the sort of things will become a little bit funky, especially with the calculations right here. So instead of just seeing it as hours of wall climbing, just think about it as the first unit of wall climbing, the second unit of wall climbing, the third unit of wall climbing, and then so on. Because if we just use the hours of wall climbing right here, it'll make these numbers not work out based on the calculations and formulas that we've been using. So just think of it as, instead of the half hour of wall climbing, think about it as the first unit of wall climbing. 1 hour of wall climbing is the second unit of wall climbing, and then so on down the line. So just something to keep in mind. I will try to avoid examples that use units of time, and I will just try to use them as units of goods as we have with the pizza right here. So just keep that in the back of your mind. So suppose that you are the consumer in this particular example and you have $50. If you were a rational consumer, where would you go ahead and spend your first $10? So remember that pizza and wall climbing, for the very first unit for each of these goods, they both cost $10. Where would you go ahead and spend your very first $10? Would it be for the first unit of pizza or for the first unit of wall climbing? And in this case, we want to compare column 4 and column 8 against one another, the marginal utility per dollar. You compare your first unit of wall climbing, which gives you $9 per 9 marginal utility per dollar, or your first unit of pizza, which gives you 7 marginal utility per dollar. So your bang for your buck is going to be bigger if you consume the first unit of wall climbing first. So you go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to take my first $10 and consume 1 unit of wall climbing. So there you go. That's exactly how you make your decisions. However, you still have $40 left and you want to use up all of your income. So where you're going to spend your second $10 is going to be for your very first slice of pizza or for your second unit of wall climbing. And once again, you want to compare 8 versus 7. You say, my second $10 is going to go towards the second unit of wall climbing. So you spent $20 so far and you buy 2 units of wall climbing. Your third $10 is going to be for your first pizza or for your third unit of wall climbing, it's going to be for your first pizza because 7 is bigger than 6. The marginal utility dollar you get for pizza, your bang for your buck, is now bigger. Your fourth $10 is going to go towards pizza or wall climbing. In this case, it doesn't matter because they are exactly equal to one another. So let's go ahead and say that your fourth $10 is going to go towards pizza, and then your fifth $10 is going to be for the third unit of wall climbing. So in this case right here, we have used up all of your income, and that's exactly how you're going to be maximizing your utility, and also it's going to find out your optimum consumption bundle. It tells you that your optimum consumption bundle is where you're going to buy 2 units of pizza and 3 units or 1.5 hours of wall climbing. So just by using this sort of step-by-step process of comparing the marginal utility per dollar for each of these goods. Once again, you do not want to go ahead and just compare them straight across and just choose the highest number out of all of them, because that will give you the wrong answer. You do want to order your marginal utility per dollar from highest to lowest, just like what we did with the willingness to pay in chapter number 3. So you just want to go ahead and see, hey, where should I spend my first money? I choose the highest marginal utility per dollar, and then just keep on going back and forth until you spend all of your income. So with this, we find out that the optimum consumption bundle so far, so question number 1, or first sort of question that we can answer, is what the optimum consumption bundle is going to be. So optimum consumption bundle. And there are essentially only 2 questions that I can ask you from this sort of setup right here. So optimum consumption bundle, let me spell this better. Optimum consumption bundle. We notice that at the optimum consumption bundle, you are consuming 2 pizzas and 1.5 hours of wall climbing. So 2 pizzas and 1.5 wall climbing. So 1.5 hours of wall climbing or 3 units of wall climbing. The second question that we want to ask, at the optimum consumption bundle, what exactly is our total utility equal to? Utility. So there are a few different ways that we can approach this. The easiest way is to go ahead and take a look at how much total utility do we get for consuming 2 pizzas, and then add the total utility that we get for consuming 1.5 hours of wall climbing. So to do that, you just take a look at column 2 and column 6. At 2 units of pizza, we get 130 units of satisfaction, and at 1.5 hours of wall climbing, we get 230 units of happiness. So we add these 2 numbers together, 130 plus 230, and this will give us 360 units of utility. So 130, which comes from 2 pizzas, we add in 230, which comes in from 1.5 hours of wall climbing, and this will give us 360 units of total satisfaction. And there is no other bundle that we have in this table right here that will give us greater than 360 units of satisfaction. There's every other single bundle in this is going to give us less satisfaction, or we're not going to be using up all of our income, or we're using too much of our income. So notice in this particular situation, there are actually 2 conditions for us to be met in order for us to make sure that we are at the optimum consumption bundle. The first one you should see is, hey, it comes from column 4 and column number 8. When we stop, we notice that these 2 values, the 6 and the 6, for the marginal utility per dollar, are exactly equal to one another. So this is our very first condition in order for us to be utility maximizing. Individuals are going to maximize total satisfaction where the marginal utility per dollar is equal for all goods and for all services. So marginal utility of good A divided by the price of good A has to equal the marginal utility of good B divided by the price of good B, and for every other single good that we have within the sort of setup that we have. But here we only focus in on 2 goods. So this has to be met in order for us to be utility maximizing, and we do meet it at this particular example. So 6 for pizza, 6 for wall climbing, we are good to go. The second condition in order for us to be utility maximizing is we have to be using up all of our income. We had $50 in this particular example. 2 slices of pizza, that's $20. 3 units of wall climbing, or 1.5 hours of wall climbing, is $30. So 20 plus 30, we are using up all of our $50 once again. So here we have to be using up all of our income. We have to be at the point where our marginal utility per dollar is equal to one another for both of these goods in order for us to be utility maximizing. If only one of these conditions is met but not the other, then we are not utility maximizing. So do be very, very careful and cognizant of that fact. And this is exactly how we are going to go ahead and find our optimum consumption bundle just by sort of using an iterative step process by comparing the marginal utility per dollar, ordering it from highest to lowest, seeing where they're equal to one another, and making sure that we are using up all of our incomes. Sometimes we may see that our marginal utility per dollar may be equal to one another higher up, but we're not using up all of our income. So in that case, we are not utility maximizing. So like I said before, there's really only two questions that I can ask you from this big setup that we have right here. Number one, what the optimum consumption bundle is going to be. So what combination of goods are we going to be operating at? And number two, what is the total utility at the optimum consumption bundle? Here, we just need to go ahead and add up the total utilities for at the optimum consumption or at the optimum combination of both of these goods. We'll go ahead and do another big example of this just so you guys get a lot of practice with it in the next video. So I'll go ahead and draw that up for you guys, and we'll work through it step by step in that lecture.